начинаем интервью проекта «Диалоги» Стравинского, Швейцария.
Switzerland. And today we're going to talk with the manager of musical projects, dramaturgist and journalist, Anja Wernicke. Anja, hello. I'm
Hello.
very glad to see you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm really happy to be here. And I hope that many people will get inspired and have some ideas. I'm really open also for any questions. So hello to the audience. And if you have any questions, you can write an email to me and I would be very happy to get in touch with you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Anja, you work in Basel.
Yes.
In this city, I think a lot of projects are realized connected with contemporary art. And how is the audience active? The question is, and how is it? How much is it conservative, and how much feedback do you get from theater, from contemporary musical concerts?
Yeah, so Basel has really a long tradition in contemporary art and in contemporary music as well. There are several stories that I could tell here. Maybe I start with conductor and somebody who was also very much involved in financing and funding new institutions. His name is Paul Sacher. And he founded, for example, the Schola Cantorum Basiliensis, which is a place for old music, and also the Kammer Orchestra, which was always active in contemporary music and in new music, in old music, in ancient music. And he also founded the Paul Sacher Foundation, which is now an archive for contemporary music. So, and this is just one, the biggest archive for contemporary music, I think, in the world, where you have also the scores and the whole Nachlass, I don't know the word in English, of Stravinsky. So this is a nice bridge maybe also. And so it is a place, it really is a worldwide known place for contemporary music. And you have this tradition, but you also have a lot of young people, thanks to the higher education, thanks to the music university here, that really makes a very good job in educating the young musicians, and then many of them stay here. And then you have, as I said, also the other institutions like the museum, which also was always very active in contemporary music, and Art Basel, of course, which is the biggest art fair. And then you have also like smaller off spaces, which really are like the core of the contemporary music scene in Basel, for example, the Gare du Nord. And this is also a place, or the reason why I'm actually in Basel, or why I came to Basel. I made an internship at Gare du Nord. This is a concert place, which has an annual program, and I think like 3 or 4 concerts a week. So really, a lot of contemporary music is going on there. There's many ensembles, different ensembles from Basel, from Switzerland, also international ones are coming there. And it is really for the size of the city, it has a very strong contemporary music scene. But now you were asking about the audience, and I would say the audience, it is quite special also in Basel, that the audience or the inhabitants of Basel are very open towards also contemporary music. And this is the experience that we got with the festival, for example. It used to be socially important thing to go to the concerts, for example, of Paul Sacher, because he was a very prominent figure in the city. And still it is like somehow in the DNA, I would say, of the Basel inhabitants to be very open, be very curious for what's going on in the contemporary music scene. And so we as a festival, I'm speaking for ZeitRäume now, the festival that you see here in my bag with our new poster. So our concept is to do concerts in spaces where normally no concerts are happening. And there we really meet a great openness. Like, for example, we have been doing projects in a tunnel under the Rhine, which is normally not open for audience. And like the city administration was so kind and so open to just give the students, was a project with students, the possibility to realize their project there. And also when we do projects in the public space, we always, it's always very supportive. And so for us, really, we are always amazed also that people are so open-minded and so supportive for our projects that we always try to do in places where normally no concerts are happening.
Let's maybe talk about the Biennale for new ZeitRäume. And you are leading the Biennale, and music and architecture are very commonly connected, even in words, and they are always juxtaposed or compared in between. And it seems that there is a syncretic idea of those two arts. So I read the program of the Biennale and listened to you. And in the program of 2021, that there are some incredible things, like kinetic sound objects, sonic objects, or interactive sonic installation with reminiscence of the inhabitants, or the relationship between a man and a machine. And it sounds very interesting, but since we are not there and we are not there yet, we cannot really understand what will be going on. So can you maybe talk about more specifically about what is going to happen in the festival of this year, and what is to expect?
Mm-hmm. Sure. So our basic question of the festival that we really try to answer each time in new ways and shed like new lights on and give new perspectives is the question how music and space are interrelated. So how is a space affecting the musical experience, and how is music and sound relating to the spatial experience and to the architectural experience? So it's really something that has to happen in life. And so this is why in COVID times, we're especially happy that now it looks all good. So even the numbers are rising a little bit. We really hope that we can make this festival happen as we have planned it. And so really let the people and the public dive into this experience of music and architecture. It's really something that you cannot really transmit online or in any other media. You have to experience this, because the bodily experience, the spatial experience is what we are focusing on. And and then actually we always are looking for like new perspectives and artistic ideas, and then we get surprised also ourselves how the artists are interpreting this concept and this topic. And so this year, for example, during our time of putting the program together, we realized that there were many projects and many artists who were focusing on the concept or on the idea of transforming the city. So you have to know that Basel is a city which was still is very industrial somehow from the chemical industry, but the chemical industry has changed a lot in the last years. So there are huge areas in the city now which are abandoned by the chemical industry, where you still have like old factory buildings, and we have a couple of projects in these old factory buildings. So chemical industry is still strong in Basel, but they just moved to other places for production, and they have other buildings here now. So you have like these big transformation areas, and also other areas from the trains, for example, like for like I don't know how this word is in English, but you have at this time, especially, there are like 3 or 4 really big transformation areas where in the future years new buildings, new housings will be built, because the city is actually when you look on the map, you see that you have the German border on one side, the French border on the other side, and towards the when Basel really goes into the country or opens into the country, then you have mountains there. So the city is quite circled by borders or mountains. It cannot really expand. So the concept that the architects are mostly speaking about is like to make the city more dense and to use all these spaces that are abandoned by the industry and which are no longer in use, and to densify these areas. And so this is a huge topic in Basel, and it's of course also for us very interesting to go into this discourse and to see what kind of maybe also utopian ideas can develop from this discourse of how are we going to use these areas. And so, for example, we have one project which is called Urban Morphologies by Ensemble Mosaic. It's an ensemble from Berlin and a Swiss composer from Zurich, Katharina Rosenberger. Maybe you have a talk with her because she's a curator also of a new festival in Zurich, which is called Sonic Matter. And she came up with this project. She actually contacted us and said, I have this project about transformation of the city, and it's about Berlin and Los Angeles. So these 2 cities had already been set, and then we added the 3rd city to it, Basel. And this project will reflect on past, present, and future of city transformation. As, for example, in Berlin, it is already also due to the history, it is a very long story of fights also in the city. How are we going to use the city? So really this political, social issues that also come into play. And this project will be at this post-industrial area that I talked of already, like these old chemical industrial buildings, and this will be a spatial setup with video projections. There's a video artist also involved, Bettina Kunsch. I can maybe write this name down here in the chat, or you can also check this out on the website. This is one example on how really the actual social political questions that are currently discussed in the city also have then their impact in the festival. And then we have other projects, for example, a very different project, because this is a project which is more or less in a concert setting, because you have an ensemble, you have a live performance, you have video projections. The audience can move around, they can explore the space. There will be also some scenographic elements. But then we also have another project, which is more, I would say, kind of grassroots project. It is called Der Klang von Birsfelden, like the sound of Birsfelden. And Birsfelden is actually a small community. I don't know how you say this, it's not belonging to Basel, but it's very close to Basel. This is another speciality of this city, that the city itself is very small, and then you have the agglomeration area right at the you don't really notice the difference, but this little town of Birsfelden, which is in the south of Basel and also on the Rhine, on the river. This is also an area which will be transformed in the upcoming years a lot. And we had an interview project there. So we, our colleague, Hanan Isabella Kohlenberger, she spoke to about 20 people. She had long interviews with them about the sound of Birsfelden. So the question was, has the sound of Birsfelden changed? Which are spots in the city that you like the most? So which sounds would you like to have in the future? And with these interviews, the composer composer and sound artist Kati van Eck. She will do an installation, and this installation will be made available during the festival time. It is it is in the public space, so it will always be there, and it's actually an interactive sound installation where you can go to, and when you approach it, then there are sensors, and the sound will change according to how close or distant you are from the loudspeakers. The sound will change. So yeah, these are maybe two very different projects which show a little bit how we are also involved in the discourse of architecture and urbanization and urban studies, and how we also try to involve the inhabitants, how we also try to create a community, and really have the somehow base of the artistic projects coming from the local inhabitants, and because this project from Kati van Eck, it really developed also through the time and according to what people were telling and saying during these interviews.
Mm-hmm. So, do I understand correctly that the person maybe after a working day could maybe switch from one location to another as a pedestrian of some sort, going from one location of this in the city to another, just experiencing and changing the perspective?
Yeah, this is true. This is really something that we hope will happen many times, that people also maybe spontaneously come to our projects, because we have many things happening in the public space. We have one project which is called Die Summe, and this is actually about humming. So it's a project with several choirs. This is also something which is really great here. There are so many choirs, and they are all also very open for contemporary music. And there's one big choir event also taking place during the festival, which we could partner up together. And so during this event of this big choir event, our project Die Summe, so like the hum, will also take place. And this humming project, people might just come across and then experience the city, which they know from day to day in their daily routines differently. So this is really what we hope to also transform, like the day-to-day places which seem common, which seem like known, transform them into a different aesthetic experience, and hopefully maybe transform in this case also a little bit of the people's experience themselves, or the inside, let's say. So we have this humming project, for example. We have also a festival pavilion at the Mittlere Brücke, which is like the central bridge in the city center, where are different installations. You were earlier referring to the cybernetic project. So there will be a cybernetic installation, for example, little performances, also just a place to exchange and to get to know the festival. So this will start also a little earlier, already on September 3rd. It will open, and then it will go on until the end of the festival. So this is like our base in the city, because it is the rest of the projects are very decentralized. And this is a place where people can get to know the festival and come across the program. And and then we also have one project in public sphere with an ensemble here from Basel. It's called Les Trombones de Bâle. They are 8 trombone players, and they will play a piece by Vanya Aloe, which will actually be different at each spot. They will do it at 5 different spots. And this is, for example, this is a good example for an artist, in this case, the composer Vanya Aloe, who surprised us with his interpretation of the festival subject, because he said, it's very nice to combine architecture and music, but I would like to do it in places which are not super nice. So normally we are like looking out for special places and places then somehow which could be architecturally also like very sophisticated. And he came up with the idea of doing his project or his composition, composing it for places which are a little bit at the edge, where normally no concerts would happen and which normally would not catch our attention. So, for example, it will be at a fitness center or a gas station or a family garden, like little dacha. I don't know, in the middle of the town. It's quite common here to have like a little dacha. I know in Russia is more at the countryside, but here it is. Like in the middle of the city, people have like little gardens, and it's a place which is very private normally, and people not, and there we will do this concert, and then also in a shopping center. So this is an interesting interpretation of the concept, and for each space, actually, he will have different samples which evoke then the space and which give a comment or give a certain reflection on this space.
I know that in 2019 there was a very close Überläufer project, I think, was realized, which sounds a bit quite close to what you just said. So could you maybe talk about this project, because it was quite important, and maybe comment on this concept? So. So how is it different from what is going to be presented this year?
Yeah, so this project came out actually of a research project that I was involved in also on the side, as I'm also working at the Music University at the Hochschule für Musik in the research department. There was a big research project going on with somebody from sociology and from music pedagogy about music and migration. And the question was about the music students, because there are many international music students and many international musicians also in Basel living. The question was how do they actually involve here in the city life, and maybe how are their migration stories, and where do they come from, where do they go after their studies, or do they go back to their countries? And actually what they discovered in this project is that you cannot really speak of migrants. It's more like a super mobility of the musicians, because people who are musicians themselves or know the classical contemporary music scene know that, of course, it is very international and it's like worldwide mobile moving community. And and so this was a project about the students. So many students were interviewed for this project. And then we had the idea, because it was such a big topic also at this time, to have a project with students where they can actually also artistically somehow comment on this topic and somehow give also their perspective in a musical way. And then there was a composer from Frankfurt am Main, Hannes Seidel, who was leading this project musically. And then there were also students from the University of Art, and I don't know what the name is. Here from Basel, I don't know what the name is in English. It is Hochschule für Gestaltung und Kunst. So it will probably be like University for Art and Design. This is, I think, the name. And these students were from the scenography department, from the architecture, like not architecture from the outside, but from the inside. So like, I would say scenography students, and they work together. So the music students and the scenography students work together on the subject of migration. And and then they came up actually with this concept of having a super flexible room. So when you see this video, there is a documentation of this project. You see that there are many things happening at the same time, and you have like this open space with moving elements. So when you, as an audience member, move around this space, you could really experience at any time some difference. So at some point, suddenly there could be a wall, or the wall could move away. And then there was also like a separate room in the middle where not everybody was allowed to go inside. And then you had the music going on at various places. There was also one place where the audience was invited to speak about their own background, where their own origins, where they come from, and there were questions to answer. And and this was really a very nice project for ZeitRäume, because it was had this, on the one side, this research background, and on the other side also this performative space and this very nice scenography. What the scenography students did was really amazing. They did in such a big work because they built it all themselves. So this was really quite a huge setup, a huge project for us. And I have to say, very, very nice project. And this was not the first one that we did in this constellation. We had one also in this tunnel that I was speaking of in 2015 during the first biennial. And I really hope that we will do other projects again together, because it's they are so open-minded, and it was a really nice cooperation.
un año para pues más allá de la cerveza, lo mejor, allí una paella, una fideuá, y esa es my home. My name is Janna.
And the question you asked also, well, how was it different from this year? I can really not say, because this it was just one way of approaching the festival topic, and because it had this special background of the research project, so there was a given theme. So maybe this is the difference, that this year we have a lot of this urbanization questions and of these city transformation questions. The festival title actually is Die Verwandlung. I don't know, you see it maybe here in red. This is the title this year is The Transformation. And we also refer to, like just the ongoing and for everybody so present changing times also during the pandemic, and this experience of such a sudden, quick change that can happen. And in 2019, the festival title was the common space, or the shared space, and so this was maybe referring more to this social aspects and questions about migration, and how do we actually live together, how do we share space, and how do we cope with our different origin and histories.
Yeah, the question is that there are very common ways as a concert situation, for example, and a lot of contemporary musicians and a lot of contemporary artists are trying to cross this and avoid it maybe as much as possible. But there is also an idea that it is somehow connected with the fear that the usual concert situation would not be just able to give as much, and that people are afraid that they will not be able to cope with such a restricted situation. So could you maybe say what is your opinion on that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there are different aspects to that question. I mean, on the one side, this tendency towards transdisciplinary projects, it is not only happening in music, it's also happening in the arts world, in theater, and so on. So I really think that it's something that it is now just so prominent, and it's so necessary to explore it, because otherwise, I don't know, you have now musical performances going on in museums, and you have dance going on in museums, and so I think really the music or the music world should also take part in this transdisciplinary movement, and it does. I mean, it is happening. It is so present now that for a festival, I think, if you want to work with really contemporary artists, then you cannot avoid this. And it is really also a big, I think, potential when you speak of how to reach new audiences and how to involve the audiences in new ways, because as you said, there is this this tendency and this fear that the conventional seating concert is not enough, and that it is not appropriate anymore somehow. But I really think also that it is still one way of reception and one way of presenting music that should not be totally forgotten, because it is also a beautiful way of listening to music and having this kind of total focus and total concentration on the music. And I mean, this how this concert ritual, as you say so often now, developed in the 19th century. It was also out of an idea of a philosophical idea of just totally embrace this idea of autonomous music and to forget about the body and the rest, so to say, and really only move in towards this musical experience. And I think really it is a beautiful concept, and it should not be forgotten. But there are so many other ways of experiencing and relating to music that are also interesting, and that we have now the pleasure to experience in these years. And I really think that still also this concentrated form of listening, and that we all also have when you listen on your headphones to the music, it should not be forgotten. And I think it won't, because really it is a beautiful concept. And there is also music which should be listened in this way. And I mean, for our concerts, we have, for example, one seating concert also in the festival with the symphony orchestra here, where spatial music scores will be played. But it is also really something where you can just close your eyes and forget about your body and just dive into this music and sound world that is proposed. And it's just that the music is not coming from the front, but from like a 360 degree angle.
Yes, I think that is very, very important, that like this, so to say, conservative way of perceiving music, and some other ways in which the audience and the listener can maybe feel his or her body in a different way. And it's good that to have very parallel ways of perceiving things. In the frame of Biennale, there's going to be Michael Hirsch opera Papier, and Stephanie Fleischman. What do you think that the story has been very, very is well known and has been on the opera scene? And why do you think that it would appeal to the contemporary audience, especially the plot that we already know and that is so tightly connected with the roots?
I really think that it is the music of Michael Hirsch and how he is treating this subject. And it has a very, I think, actual, there's the possibility of connecting also it to very actual stories. It is not done in this staging so specifically, but you can really do it in your head because Nero is this kind of, very, how you say this, just somebody who's abusing his power. And this is something which unfortunately is still something that is going on in our world today. And so I think that there can be a very actual and concrete relations can be drawn to the plot and to the story. But then in the way that he is presenting it musically is really something that is going under the skin. So the music of Michael Hirsch is very intense. It is very much like in your face. So it's really hard to withdraw from the emotional experience. And and this is why we think that really how he is composing and how he's treating the instruments and the sounds is just a way that it is. I have to say that we are co-leading the festival, and this is a production which was very much supported by my colleague Bernhard Günther. He had invited also Michael Hirsch to Vienna to the festival that he's doing there, Wien Modern, for other projects already before with Michael Hirsch, and they were big successes. And And yeah, so he really supported this project. It will also go to Vienna afterwards. There will be 3 performances also in November this year. And so he always says that this is a masterpiece that he has written, and Michael Hirsch. And and I'm really looking forward to hear it, because the rehearsals are going on. But of course now we only had heard like little pieces, and you can really tell that it will go under your skin, and it will be very intense experience. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to having the whole experience then in a couple of weeks.
And what is the role of architecture in this staging?
Yeah, this was a experiment for us, because we involved a architecture team in the stage design. So the stage design is done by Heinrich Töfs and Johannes Piazzovanis, 2 young architects here from Basel. And they sat together with the stage director, and actually they were talking about how to bring this violence on stage, because there's a lot of violence in the plot. And as I said, the music already is so also intense. And so they were talking about how to bring this on stage. And the architects, they came up with the idea of a non-transparent curtains that are made of plastic bottles. And I don't want to say too much, but the audience will see that in the beginning you have like this beautiful curtains, and there will be a play like with not completely being able to see through them, and in the end that it will be like a big rubbish hole. So it will also be a reflection on our behavior with the environment, and in this whole sustainability discourse on how we treat our materials and the resources. And so they came up with this idea of the curtains, and using also this material, which is of course also there can be also a big discussion about why do we have to use these plastic bottles, but they really wanted to make this point, and I think it will be very strong.
I hope that Biennale this year turns out, and with the current situation, with all the difficulties, that it all works out. And I really, really hope that you will have a chance to repeat it multiply over the next years. I know that in the University of Applied Arts, there is the specialty of curating the musical projects. I'm sorry, I'm not catching it completely. And that you are curating the project, and the students had a chance in organizing the Biennale this year. What should the curator do? And what are the obstacles?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we are having this program for the first time this year. We have a group of 10 people. They are mostly musicians themselves. There are 2 composers. There are performers. There are also 2 people more coming from the organizational side, from the project management, curational side. So we really have a very diverse group, which is really nice for the discussions. And we involved them quite early. We had 3 teaching blocks in January, in May, and in March, and January, March, and May. And there were different lecturers coming. And during these 3 course blocks, we were also always speaking about certain projects of the festival. So we involved them very early, and we were discussing different issues, different curatory issues with them. And now they are involved in the projects. For example, they will do introduction talks. There's somebody has written a text for our festival magazine. They came up with ideas for a program for the festival pavilion, for example, for different side programs. So yeah, we left this quite open, and there were quite a lot of possibilities, and and so we have several projects where they were working on, and sorry, the question was
like, what are the skills needed?
The skills, yeah, sorry. Okay, so I was starting a little early with the whole history. Now the skills, right? So the skills, I would say the curator has to be very able to adapt to different to different fields, because there are very pragmatic questions often at play. There are very artistic questions often at play, and you somehow have to negotiate like this whole spectrum. And and we are a very small team here in our festival office, and so I don't know, we are doing everything. So yesterday, my colleague Bernhard and me, we were cleaning the coffee machine. So, and tomorrow we will speak about what are we doing for our press conference. So it is really like, I don't know, maybe it's a little I don't know, maybe I'm speaking a little bit too open, but it's really, for me, it is, if you want to curate something like this, you somehow have to be into it, like from the bottom to the top. So somehow setting up such a huge festival, it involves so many questions, like on the administration side, doing the contracts, like doing the whole technical stuff. And then also, which artists actually to choose and to pick is somehow at the beginning, it is somehow a question. I mean, of course, it's really a super nice part of it, and like engaging with the artists, but it is also a very negotiative thing. So you have to be very open to their ideas also. I mean, the worst thing I think is that somehow the curator tries to impose his idea, and the artists don't feel confident with it. So I really don't think that, what I'm trying to say is that for me, at least in my experience, the work of the curator, it can be different, of course. The work of the curator has to do with this very broad spectrum of doing very, very pragmatic things, and also and also coping with the artistic ideas of the artists that involved are, of course, and to negotiate between the different interest groups, especially in our case where we are cooperating with so many different partner institutions and all the different venues and locations. And and this is what I really like in this curatorial discourse, is the idea. It goes back to Beatrice von Bismarck. She's a researcher and prominent figure in the curatorial discourse, and she said that it is about making art public. And this involves many different things. It involves also how to connect to the audience. I mean, most and foremost, of course, we do it for the audience, and then also connecting with the artists and with the team and with the different departments that have to be involved. And so I think really it's a very broad spectrum, and there are many different possibilities also where to execute the tasks of a curator. I mean, there can be people who are mostly involved in writing texts, or there can be people who are more involved in dealing with the audience directly, or maybe also in education, or in working with the artists on the concept. So I think there are many different possibilities, and it is also more and more getting clear now actually what it all involves. This is what I'm also interested in my research at the university. It's actually what all this work that is done it is not really so explicitly written down anywhere. So a lot of things are just happening like in an implicit way. And I really think that is interesting to look at what are actually the behaviors and the methods that are going on while setting up a project or a festival or promoting a musical event.
Thank you. And so you mentioned several times the research projects that you do. And so I know that you work at the research center. The research in a musical field, it seems that it is a process that is almost like circled on itself, that is locked. So the researchers kind of follow the previous researcher's topic, and then they're followed by somebody else. And it seems that the project that you have is like is aimed to practical results. So like with methods of bio and hydrotechnical engineering, there's going to be an instrument serpentino, the instrument that is not present now, but for which the musical pieces are written. So this is kind of the field of bioengineering that is connected with music, which means can the cooperation with very distant applied sciences like music and applied sciences, can it be? In what means can it be?
It is quite something special and surprising also for us that these kind of cooperations are possible. And it is very much, I think, connected to the research financing politics in Switzerland, because you have like the university research, which is very much working with texts and so to say not so practical, more theoretical. And then you have the applied universities, and they actually have the duty to connect to the small businesses. And so this is, for example, how the research department, our research department is involved in so many projects where actually like real products have to come out. So for example, like instruments or like an app that can be used afterwards. And this, and then when you go to these small businesses, for example, like for this person who is, I don't have the name now present, but in the Serpentino project, there's one person involved who is building these Serpentinos. And when you come into contact with him and you listen to him, I'm not so much involved in this project. I just know it from my colleagues. But then you realize what kind of problems he's actually dealing. So in this Serpentino project, it is about finding a solution for the material. So in these Serpentinos, you have I think you have wood and leather. And to find a way that it is that is longer lasting, because normally with the with the moisture that gets in when you play the instrument, there are many bacteria and mushrooms developing in the instrument very quickly. And so the idea was to find a solution that the material is not so sensitive towards this mushrooms and bacteria. And then they connected to this institute, which is doing research on the material qualities. So like for all different kinds of things that get produced, and they are actually very much involved in, or now their contribution to the project was to find out a way to how you can prepare the material so that it's not that it will last longer. So this connection from the research of a very industrial based research of the material and the musical instruments, this is, I think, it came into play also because of this financial structure that is looking for these kind of connections. So, yeah, I mean, I hope that I described it okay, because I'm not so much involved in this project. And as I said, me and my colleagues, we're also always surprised and wow, this is it's such a great way of working together and supporting the ideas of the other. And for us, always like new worlds are opening.
Thank you. And Basel is like a multidisciplinary city in this case, because the music gets a chance to collaborate with very different fields of art and not art only. And apart from it just being a city, you also seem like a multidisciplinary person to me as well. So I wanted to ask you about your work in dramaturgy, in writing, and how much of your life is connected with that, and what place does it take in your life?
Mm-hmm. So the projects that I have done in this field of dramaturgy were always linked to Gare and to the artistic director of Gare, Desiree Meiser, who's also working as a stage director. And for me, like from very early on, when I came to Basel, I was involved in productions at Gare as a stage director assistant, and then later also as a dramaturg for Desiree Meiser. And she actually always comes up with the ideas, and then we are like sitting together and spending a lot of time together, speaking about the idea and the concepts. And she mostly is working in a kind of, I would call it collage technique. So the first project that we were doing together as me dramaturg and she stage director was a combination of two operas, Monteverdi's Orfeo and Lucimie Traditrici by Salvatore Sciarrino. And then the work was like, okay, we have to select certain scenes because we cannot bring up on the stage both operas. It would be too long. And so then our process was together, okay, so on which scenes are we focusing, on which plots, like story lines are we focusing, how can we combine the music also? So we came up with the idea of having also a moment where actually both musical words overlap, like in the scene when Orfeo is in going through hell, and then we had like the timpanis come in from the Sciarrino piece, for example. So yeah, so these are what we do together. We like basically the idea is already there from Desiree, and then together we kind of build the scenes. And for this project, which will come up now in October this year, Senza Ora, it was more, or the so to say, ingredients of the project are more diverse. There are also different composers who wrote new pieces for it. There are several pieces by I have a lag in my head now. Bruno Madana, of course, Bruno Madana, he was like the starting point of this project. And his life inspired the project very much. There's amazing letter exchange between Bruno Madana and his stepmother, who adopted him, and in these letters that they exchanged throughout the whole life of Bruno Madana, you really see like his artistic path and his struggle also with the artistic expression from the time where he was a student and he got so much applause, and they called him the small Bach, and to later struggles, also political struggles with Luigi Nono that he had, and then towards the end of his life, because he passed away quite in the midst of his career, actually, to going into a more philosophical, maybe also spiritual questions, and all these different questions and aspects are in these letters. And so this was the starting point of the project. And then Desiree, she has worked so many years at Gardiner with so many different composers, and so like for her the question arose in a more broader and general sense, where does all the music go? So simply put, all the music that is created and then played on stage, where does it all go? So we had several interviews and with over 40 different composers, also together with students from the musicology department. And there will be a little publication coming out with statements of these composers where they reflected on this question, basically how and why do they compose, and how do they work. So this it is also the 20th anniversary this next season of Gardiner. So this project Senza Ora really is also a moment like in this context of the anniversary to reflect on the history of Gardiner and also in the composer's role in society in general. And so this was our work in this project. So it is not so much writing, it is more actually discussing and finding out which path to take. And then of course there has also been like a written text, but is something that then comes at the end or in the middle, like more naturally just putting down the ideas at some point. But going through this process together and being kind of a feedback person for Desiree, who will do also the staging of this project.
It was very interesting to hear about the October project. So, do you have any other? Do you have any other joint projects with Desiree, or maybe you are collaborating with somebody else, or you have any future collaboration plans or ideas in this field upcoming?
Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm so focused on the festival, which is starting soon. But I'm also working together with my husband. He's a composer as well. His name is Alexander Gabrich, and he's developing a music theater now, which is based on a play by a Polish author, Witkatze, Stanislaw Witkiewicz. It is called the Beelzebub Sonate. So like Beelzebub is a different name for the devil. It is a Faust drama. So very, very popular story, which is also evoked in Stravinsky's History of the Soldier. And he is working on this very, very intensely. And I'm close to the process, and I'm also throwing in ideas, and somehow we are also working on this together, and it had to be postponed. The premiere should have been already this year in April, but due to Corona it has to be postponed to next year in April. I'm looking forward to have more time for this after the festival, and I think it will be pretty wild and cool performance happening at Gare Nord. And so this is some other project that always also is present in my life.
I really, really hope that the project works out well, and that nothing, as well with the festival, that nothing could be an obstacle for that.
Thank you very much.
So on one side, you are moderating like super contemporary projects that are created from scratch on your in front of you, like in Lamento or Papaya. They are bringing us back to like Baroque art, but in a different point of view. Also, I read your
as a journalist, you mean, probably?
As a journalist, yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the reason for such a broad interest that you have? So on one side, you have super contemporary music, and then you were writing about the Baroque music. So, and what is the reason for going back to the old music, ancient music in some way?
Yeah, so I would say really my main focus is contemporary music. I was educated as an accordion player. And when you play accordion and you want to play original pieces for the instruments, you very quickly arrive at contemporary music. And I was very lucky that my teachers at the music school and also conductor of the orchestras in which I played, like accordion orchestras, they were all very much into contemporary music and kind of leading me towards it. And I found this just super interesting, and it's really my thing. And I'm totally into contemporary music. But when but I also always liked writing, and I also like from the already during my school time, somehow I was doing an internship in a newspaper, and then after my studies, I also did an internship at a newspaper. So I always liked also the journalistic media side and activity, and then when I was in Basel, I for 5 years. I worked here also as a freelance journalist for the local newspaper. And they just sent me to all the concerts. So this was not really possible to say, no, I only go to contemporary concerts. And also, I didn't want it. I mean, I was really curious. So I had really even had the possibility to once go to the Scala in Milano, and there was an opera by Puccini, or I go to all the classical soloist concerts and orchestra concert. I was just very curious. I mean, it is the basis of the music, and you have to know also this repertoire, and it's super beautiful. I really, really, really like it. But I'm not an expert in old music, and I always like when I get when I get corrected or new teachings from people from the Schola. They are really experts in their field. So this is, I would say, just was more a general descriptions than that I gave for this local newspaper. It's not really my my expertise.
So the question is about interpretation of something. For example, you have a traditional interpretation, let's say, of an opera, and on another side you have a contemporary interpretation of something. So of an like, for example, of papier, as an example that has been already mentioned. So where are you in this in this question?
You mean between like traditional or contemporary interpretation
of just of music in general, I guess, or of the plot, or I think it's about an approach to old music. So you're coming back to say authenticity in performing, or a contemporary way of interpreting it.
Yeah. I guess I have an answer to this, or a comment. In this project Senza Ora, I didn't mention so far, but there's also old music involved. And this was also really nice in the project the prior project Lamento. There were students playing in the orchestra, so there was one part of the orchestra playing, students from the music university playing the Sciarrino, like from the contemporary department or classical department. And then there was also the Schola Cantorum, so like the old music department playing the Monteverdi. And it was a great cooperation, and we are continuing this cooperation also now in the Senza Ora project. There's also a small ensemble in this time from the Schola involved, and there's one conductor, cembalo player, a harpsichord player, Johannes Keller. He is a lecturer also at the Schola, and I really liked what he said about old music. He said, because we were having also like exchange about how do we approach the interpretation of contemporary music and old music, and he said that actually his approach, or the approach of the old music school here, is very experimental. So it is as experimental as it is from the contemporary music, because you have just like some hints you have in the old music. Yeah, you have some scores, but you have so much information is actually missing on how to perform the music. And so they are very experimental, and this question of authenticity, I think they are just raising it every time in a new way, and they are looking into the sources, and they are studying the sources, and for them it is really also like a continuous process. And it is not about like finding the super authentic way and method to do it, because it's not possible. You cannot go back in time. You cannot have a time capsule which will give you the feeling that the people have, which will it's all a bodily experience also then. So we come back to also the influence of the space and of the social environment and of all the whole like performance situation that was happening, and the purpose that the music had, and like the status that was combined to it. So you can just guess from the sources what it was. You can like a historian try to come close to it and find interpretations. And so I think this makes it so interesting and so open and so lively then in the end, because it is not about establishing some fixed way of doing it. It's more like, what does it tell us now today, and what can we how can we as contemporary people react to this? So it's really not about setting up any altars or any music museum fixed frames or ideas, but it's really this idea about getting into a lively interaction with it. And I like this very much. It really, for me, was also like mind-opening, mind-blowing concept. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting to listen about the cultural life of Basel and of your activities in Basel. And coming to the end of our dialogue, I wanted to ask how different is cultural life of Basel? How does it respond to your own interests? So can you model it now? Do you have this ability, and are you in a position of changing it to your taste? Maybe how does it respond to you yourself as a person needing something?
I don't know. Can I model it? I don't know. I think really this maybe goes back to the question also of the curator skill. I don't really think that we model it as curators. It is more like we bring to the forefront like different tendencies that are already there. And I would say for me as a person, I really like the cultural scene in Basel, because you have very international things going on, like the Art Basel, and you have also in theater, for example, you have like in the State Theater itself is very high quality happening, and then also in the off scene, it is really when you look at what is played in Berlin or Hamburg, then you see that often the groups and the plays, the productions also have at some point showing in Basel. So you're really able to grasp an idea of what is going on in these different arts worlds and art fields. But then also it is very locally connected, and this is also what is interesting for ZeitRäume, this local connections. And for me, as somebody who came to Basel, I'm not from Basel, it was really also a very super nice way to connect to the city because all these different, as I said, partner institutions, venues, and also people taking part in the festival, like choirs and layman orchestras. Of course, the contemporary music scene itself with all the musicians and so on, but also groups which are not so connected maybe to cultural art life directly. For example, in 2015, we had a performance by Gordon Monahan, who is a sound artist from Canada. And it is called Speaker Swinging. And actually, there are 3 persons who swing the speakers. And the idea was, I was working as a production manager at this time. And Bernhard, who was at this time the artistic director, he came up with the idea of involving sportmen, actually, from a very Swiss sport. It is called Schwingen, so like swinging. It's called kind of... I don't know, ring. I don't know how the word is in English, but it's a very archaic sport. So they're just 2 men facing each other, and then one has to throw the other on his back. So I don't know if you got this, but it's a sport. It's a very popular sport, and the idea was to involve these sportsmen into the performance. So I was going to their contest, and I was experiencing like this sport contest where I would have never gone to, like from my own motivation. And so this is really also a nice way to explore like different different activities and get in touch with different people in the city. And then also the architectural scene, of course, which is also nothing would be like probably when I would not have been involved in the festival. I don't know if I had would be ever so interested in architecture. And now it's really also for me very enriching to get into this architecture scene.
Yes, and about Basel, I understood. So you said that you're not from Basel. What about the other cities, the contemporary music in the other cities? How is it? How is it perceived? For example, very recently, Pascal Viglina gave an interview here as well, and he said that in general in Switzerland, in theaters are not very interested in contemporary music. So is Basel in this case kind of has this monopoly in this case? Or so do you agree with this idea, or maybe you could comment on the situation in general in the country?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in Basel, you have also Mozart, and you have also like, of course, the traditional opera repertoire which is played, and but you also have Luigi Nono, or you have also Stockhausen, and so yeah, I mean. But in Zurich as well, for example, at the Opera House in Zurich, it is true that maybe a little less in Bern, but also, I mean, also there was Xavier Daillet, Xavier Zuber, the opera dramaturg. He was also bringing contemporary projects on stage. So I would not really generalize it. I would not be able to generalize it, I think, in this way. But yes, certainly the Opera House is very special in Basel. I mean, it was awarded a couple of times as Opera House of the Year by this opera magazine. And they really have brilliant productions, but also in Zurich you can see really really interesting and also rare productions. It's difficult to get a ticket because everybody is coming from far to see it, like it was the case with the Bernd Alois Zimmermann opera, the Soldiers, a couple of years ago. It's just a little more expensive even than the Basel opera, I think.
Thank you very much for the dialogue and for the talk. I really hope that your projects will be all realized in the future, that you will have more, and we are wishing you all the luck in the world. And thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you. It was really, really nice. And as I said at the beginning, I would be very happy to have any questions or comments or people reaching out. I'm really interested also in the Russian art scene. And I was just recently had the pleasure to be a coach of a composer, Olga Bochikina from Moscow here. She spent a residence here, also funded by Pro Ghelvecia in Basel, and was really, intriguing for me, inspiring for me to get in touch with her. And so, so if there are any ideas, propositions, and by musicians from Russia, I would be very happy to get into contact.
Thank you very much. Really, really hope to see you also in Russia, and maybe on the festivals that you have in Switzerland as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.